A parasite snuck into the man's ear while he was drunk. The man struggled in pain for a moment, and then suddenly became strangely quiet. At that moment, his girlfriend came in from outside. She thought the man was just drunk. When she saw her boyfriend, she couldn't get him to move. She had to turn around and go back to the party, but after the woman left, the man suddenly got up and opened his eyes. Then he came to the scene of the party. The girlfriend was so happy to see her boyfriend waking up, but the man didn't seem to recognize her at all. Then a horrible scene happened. The whole music festival turned into a bloodbath, and there was only one main character in the whole scene, the man with a head like an octopus. And the same thing didn't just happen here. A couple coming out of the supermarket suddenly realized that they forgot to take the check. The woman had to go back to get it, because without the ticket, they can't park for free. But at the moment, a little girl's cry caught her attention. Looking at the monster's tentacles flying all over the place, she realized that this was no longer her husband. Then she looked at the goods all over the ground, and suddenly thought of a solution. The woman was overwhelmed with grief. She didn't know why her husband was like this. At the same time, a man driving the car showed an evil smile. He didn't understand why the woman he met on the street didn't agree to go to a hotel. She wants to go to her home. But the place they arrived at was a slum, and the house the man and the woman walked into had a blood-colored pattern on it. The woman claimed that she only needed $100 and offered her services, but the man had no idea. This so-called sports place is too dirty, right? The man knows that $100 is not a lot of money, but there's no need to gather so many people to watch. But the next moment, something unbelievable happened. The man was scared to death. Luckily, there was a bright light outside the window, and a smoke bomb was thrown in. The man rushed to escape from the room full of monsters, but the monsters behind him were chasing him. Luckily for him, an armed force came in right in front of him. They shot the woman coming after him in no time. The team is then engaged in a fierce battle with several of the monsters. Although the monsters are very powerful and have invulnerable biochemical weapons in their heads, but they are still no match for the humans' advanced weapons. Seeing the situation is not good, one of the monsters fled over the wall to the street, but when he passed a car, suddenly felt a roar in his head. He looked at the car and realized what was happening. This ringing in his head was only possible when his own kind was in the neighborhood. He transformed into his original form and slammed the door. Inside was a man wearing an iron helmet. In his hand was a remote control. The man asked him a question, but he didn't answer. At the same time, the man also noticed that the remote control in his hand was flashing. At that moment, there was a noise behind him. This woman was the one whose husband had mutated in the first episode. She raises her gun and shoots at the monster. The monster knew it couldn't be defeated, so it could only run away. The woman said to the man in the iron helmet with a disdainful look on her face. Then they went back to the dirty room, where they started, but they found clothes all over the floor, both old and new, obviously belonging to the victims. Then the woman looks at the door at the far end of the room, and when the iron door was broken open, the scene that came into view made even the SWAT team could not bear to look at it. Inside, there were human remains everywhere, and there was a strange blood-colored pattern on the wall. The woman thought the pattern looked very familiar, so she went outside to check it out, but she found the same pattern on the outside wall. Meanwhile, our heroine, Suin, is at the checkout counter at the supermarket when she finds a scruffy guy trying to buy a box of beef for free. She tries to remind him to take it back and weigh it, but the man, who is engrossed in music, seems to be oblivious. After Suin's repeated reminders, the man had no choice but to pay up and leave. Before leaving, he threatened Suin to be careful on his way home tonight. He might kill her. Suin didn't take it seriously. She thought the man must have said it casually, but when he got off work at night, she noticed a white car parked in the corner of the parking lot, and the man in the driver's seat was staring in her direction, but she couldn't see his face at all. Suin snapped her helmet alertly. Then she rode her favorite motorcycle home from work. When she passed the white car, she glanced inside. When she passes by, the figure reflected in the mirror is the same scruffy guy from earlier. Looks like he's trying to get back at Suin. He followed Suin all the way to an isolated road. The man intentionally honked his horn behind Suin. Suin tried to turn into the side road to escape. The man hit the gas and sent her flying. The man took out a weapon from the car and stabbed Suin in the back. As she struggled, she pushed the man to the ground. Then she limped towards the vegetable field with her injured body. Just as the man was about to kill her, a parasite spore suddenly fell from the sky. The next moment the man was cut in half. A passing driver called the police. When Suin woke up again, he found himself in a hospital bed, but the wound on his back had miraculously healed. Suin sat on the bed and carefully recalled last night's events. In her mind, she vaguely remembers that something got into her ear. Then he couldn't remember anything else. The scene changes to the police station building, where the senior officers are in the lobby for a meeting. The one who gave them the meeting was the tough policewoman who had fought the parasite before. She tells them the truth about the recent massacres. A few months ago, a batch of parasites of unknown origin appeared on Earth. Once they enter the human body, the parasites will eat the brains of humans and replace them, and they are naturally hostile to humans or their food source is humans. These parasites not only can change into all people's faces, and their heads can transform into sharp scythes to fight. Our unit is a grey force organized by the government to deal with the parasites. It's used to eliminate all the parasites in Korea. The man you see tied up next to you is also one of the parasites. We can use him as a radar to find their nests, so the battle has just begun.